Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever. Whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. There's nothing better than to sit back with your favorite beverage, curl up in your comfy chair, and watch a holiday movie. There's a new one out this year, directed by Hampton Roads' very own Booker T. Mattison. The movie is called The Sound of Christmas, and it's airing on all BET platforms. Up next on Another View, up close and personal with director, author, and professor Booker T. Mattison. But first, you know what time it is. It's time to show your love for Another View by becoming a member of WHRO FM, or WHRV FM, and WHRO Public Media for that matter. Why not make your call now, 800-940-7170, or go online to WHRO.org and become a member right now. Then you can sit back and enjoy today's show. Isn't that right, Lisa Godley?
Absolutely. We are welcoming you to become a part of the family if you are not already. If you are a part of our family, then we say yay and thank you. And we're really excited about that. But if you aren't, don't let this opportunity pass you by. This is your chance to become a part, to take ownership
Absolutely.
of WHRV and Another View. So,
yes.
So by all means, jump right in there.
I was going to say, we would love to have you in the Another View family. And so if you make your pledge of support during this hour, your gift will be matched dollar for dollar up to $2,000.
We love
so
matches.
So we always love matches. But we know that you appreciate this show. I've run into many, many people when I'm out and about in the community, and you always can tell me what you've heard and why you love the show. But we need your support. So 1-800-940-7170, or you can go online to WHRO.org and make your pledge there. So, Lisa, I had a dream last night. I dreamed that in the hour of For Another View, we raised $245,000.
That would be awesome. I don't think we'd have to pledge again for the rest of the year, right?
Exactly. We would have done our part, but folks, we smile, but seriously, we need your support. Your dollars are the reason why Another View is on the air. It's the reason why we can keep local programming going here, as well as the national programs, because nothing comes for free. And so that's what we use your membership dollars for, to pay for the cost of the national shows, the cost of our local shows, Another View, Jay Senate in Session, the R&B Chronicles, which I jam to every Friday night at 7 o'clock. And and we just have a good time. So why don't you join the family? Go to WHRO.org or pick up the phone and dial 1-800-940-7170.
One of my favorite things to do, Barbara, is when I put together the selected shorts and I get a chance to talk to people in the community about what they're doing, what they're excited about, the programs that are out there. That's local programming.
Yes.
And we can't do that without you. This is your opportunity to say, I enjoy this. I enjoy being able to turn on Another View on Thursdays at noon and hear stories that impact me and the community. And I want it to stay. So I am going to pledge my support right now. Don't let that opportunity pass you by. We need you.
We definitely need you. And, Lisa, especially in this time of strife and things that are going on, within the world and within our own community and so forth, people tell me all the time, you know what, you give me a different perspective. You give me an opportunity to think about things in a different way than I might otherwise. And so that's why it is so important that you become a member of WHRO Public Media.
That's right. Absolutely. We are opening our arms and welcoming you to become a part of the family. Pick up the phone, give us a call. I know sometimes folks get a little confused because we have lines for you to call in and talk to us about the show and about our guests. And we have lines for you to call in to pledge your support. But, either way, we want to hear from you today.
Absolutely. And the most important number right now is that line to make your pledge of support, 800-940 940-717-7170. Come on, y'all. Let's knock out this $2,000 by 12:30, and then that way everything else is just gravy. It's on top of what we got going on. We can do this. You know, make my dream come true. Okay, maybe not 245,000, but we can certainly do our very best to bring in the most. And you know,
Absolutely.
Another View listeners, you all are so loyal to us. I mean, every time we have a drive, you know, it comes down to the wire, and you make me take a breath just before we're off the air, but you come through every time. So how about let Barbara's blood pressure stay down, and we make those calls right now, 800-940-7170, or you can go online to WHRO.org.
That's right. Jump right in there. We're waiting on you right now.
Absolutely. And we're about 30 seconds away from a very great show. We're going to be talking with the director and as I call him, a hometown boy from Hampton Roads, Booker T. Mattison. We're going to be talking about his latest movie, and I am so excited because he is all over the place, y'all, and you're going to love hearing from him. But before you do that, go to the phone, 800-940-7170. I'll tell you again, 800-940-7170, or you can go online to WHRO.org. And now it's time for Another View.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Thank you so much for becoming a member of WHRO Public Media. It is because of your support that we bring you shows like Another View. And if you make a pledge right now, your donation will be matched dollar for dollar up to $2,000. Our volunteers are waiting to chat with you. 800-940-7170 is the number to call to make your pledge, or you can go online to WHRO.org and donate there. A very special thank you to our sustainers, those who give what they can on a monthly basis. Being a sustainer saves on paper and postage, and you never have to figure out if your membership is up for renewal. It's a great way to give, the gift that keeps on giving. Call 800-940-7170. And if you can, tell the volunteer you want to become a sustainer for Another View. Believe me, we so appreciate you. We're going to have a great time over the next hour talking with Booker T. Mattison, the director of BET's holiday movie, The Sound of Christmas. Booker is an author, professor, and filmmaker. He grew up in Norfolk, is a proud graduate of, here we go, behold the green and gold, Norfolk State University, and has imparted wisdom and knowledge to students at Regent and Hampton Universities, among others. Booker T. Mattison, welcome to Another View.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's always an honor because you are a legend, and just sitting here listening to you do your thing. I gave her a pound.
Yes,
she just
he did.
does it. It's like fluid and water and greatness.
Thank you so much. And we are so happy you actually are here in the studio.
Yes.
You know, so I know I watched the movie. I've heard people talking about the movie. What's the buzz you're getting right now?
The response has been extraordinary. I haven't had a bad review yet, and you know, people are making comments on my social media pages, and I'm responding to them. So you know, the ability to have a dialogue about something that you've created is as exciting as creating it and having people enjoy it.
Yeah. So I want to play the trailer from it, so those who haven't seen it yet can get a flavor. Let's listen.
6 weeks ago, I was laid off from my job, and I'm going to stop living with my boyfriend. But there are so many things that would have to take place for that miracle to happen.
Sweetie, can I talk to you for a moment? I'm hiring for a position in my home. I need someone to help my 2 grandchildren. Have you ever been a nanny?
So, a single father trying to raise 2 kids all by himself.
Seen anyway, like.
He does have this high-city girlfriend, Chloe.
This is my
future wife.
Well, why doesn't she spend time with the kids?
She touched me with her gold digger hands.
My late daughter-in-law, she swore by the acoustics in this room. Quentin would play the piano and she would sing.
Nobody touches that piano.
No one sings in this house anymore.
There's so so much love inside of you, but you've been withholding it.
You were with her all day?
She's here to get close to the kids.
And you're falling for it. Life isn't fair. And no matter what you do, bad stuff is still gonna happen. Sometimes you just have to know that God is gonna make everything okay.
I was so locked into the pain of the past that I couldn't see the future.
You think you're just gonna waltz in here with your singing and Quentin's just gonna fall for you?
Montana.
Can I just tell you, I wanted to smack Chloe. Okay, can I just say that? But, you know.
She played that role.
She really did. She really did. How long ago did you start like this? First of all, you adapted this from a book written by Tiffany Warren called The Replacement Wife.
Yes.
So what was it about the book that you said, I want to make a movie about that?
You know, it went the opposite way. Tiffany is a friend of mine. We met when I was, on the book publishing circuit. I've published 2 novels. And we've been friends for about a decade. And she used to do this event called the Faith and Fiction Retreat. She was introduced to me by Victoria Christopher Murray, who now is a New York Times bestselling author, which is cool. She was a bestselling author then. Now she's a New York Times bestselling author. So Victoria introduced us because Tiffany, who was doing this Faith and Fiction Retreat, was looking for someone to do a workshop on adaptations from, book to film. So that's how we met. We hit it off, her husband Brent, my wife Angie, because we were there together. And, we're like, hey, we want to do something together. So lo and behold, a decade later, she had the opportunity to pitch The Replacement Wife, and she pitched with me attached to write and direct. So she created the opportunity for me. But what it bears out is something that I tell my students is that relationship capital is more valuable than any currency. Said another way, it's not what you know, but who you know. So a relationship that goes back a decade, winds up me making my first feature-length film.
That is fantastic. So, I've been in television my whole career until I came to radio. But so I understand how television production works. But there's a difference between TV production and film production. So tell me, what's your first process? Because you have to write it first, I assume. It's
an excellent question. So the first step was, because whenever Tiffany and I started this process, there was no BET. There was no Megamind, the production company that did the film. It was she and I and a vision. So, the first thing was, one, the relationship was the first thing. But then it was like, we write and we get paid to write, so we don't write for free.
Yeah.
But there were no checks being cut. So the first iteration of what happened was, hey, let's do this, which meant that what would I have to do? I would have to write a screenplay. But the first step for the screenplay is a treatment. So you have a 300-page book that's going to be a 90-page script. So necessarily the story there will have to be adjustments made, characters added, characters lost, plot lines lost, characters combined, etc. So the first step was, after, I'm like, hey, we're going to do this. Again, we're stepping out on faith. So, she had the vision, for what she wanted the film to be. Because her novel isn't set during Christmas, but she wanted it to be a Christmas movie. So boom. So the first step, the treatment, which is a first-person active voice prose summary of the story. So I read the book, and I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to make this into a movie? Because you communicate differently. In a novel, you're communicating with words to create imagery, and with a film, you're creating imagery to create emotion.
And I was going to ask you, because it's more than just stripping out the descriptors that are in a novel and saying, okay, well, we'll just film it that way.
That's right.
Right?
Precisely.
So there's a difference.
So there's something that I say in my screenwriting classes, because, you're getting students in your class who have been writing prose their entire life, but now they have to learn a new art form. And the biggest thing that I tell them at the beginning is, in a screenplay, if you can't see it or hear it, you can't write it. Therefore, there are no interior monologues. Nothing ever occurs to a character. There are no memories. If it's a memory, it's a different scene. So we're sitting here, interior radio studio day. We're having a conversation. Now, I want to communicate that you're remembering when you were a girl and went fishing with your dad. It's a new scene. It says exterior, the lake, day, flashback. It's a different scene with different actors. So it's a different way of communicating information. And something else that I like to say is that a novel is a complete art form in that the author writes the book, you read it, that's the end of the creative relationship between creator and the person receiving the message.
That's very true, because you don't get a chance to go back as a reader to go back to the author and have a conversation about it.
That's right. It's like, boom. Hey.
Unless you have a radio show and you can bring the author
Yes,
on.
like you get to do, right? Absolutely.
Yes, but really.
Right. So in the case of a screenplay, it's an incomplete art form because that's a blueprint for a movie. You write a script, that's not the end of the relationship. The movie itself is the end of the relationship between creator and the audience.
So, but because you are an author and you've sat down and you've done the complete story, is it more difficult for you to write a screenplay, or is it less difficult?
It's more difficult doing an adaptation of my own novels. It's less difficult when I'm adapting someone else's. I'm a hired gun. I get hired to adapt a script, to direct a movie, like I did in the case of this one. Mm-hmm. It's very different than when and I have adapted both of my novels. One script is ready to go, but the one for my debut novel, Lensign Hype, is no. It needs to be redone because you're attached to everything because you wrote all 300 pages of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the hard part. If you'd like to call in and talk to Booker T, the number is, let me see, 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Those two numbers are different from the pledge number, so don't be afraid that if you call those two numbers I just gave out that you will have to make a pledge. You will not. You will join our conversation. So we always have to get that straight. So in order to join the conversation that we're having right now, call 757-440-2665. Okay. So, all right. So you've got the screenplay. Is that when you start marketing it, shopping it?
So the first step is a production company. So, you have, so the production company comes on board.
You mean you don't do it all yourself?
Well, the last conversation we had, yes, so when I'm doing, short form content, I'm writing, producing, directing, I'm doing it all. I'm financing, but it's very different whenever you now have a production company involved and then, the network gets involved. So, once the network gets involved, then it doesn't matter what you produced before that is in the way of a script or whatever you have, or even a completed film. It doesn't matter. They're going to have notes and comments, and you have to adjust accordingly so that it can be what they need it to be before it goes on their air.
So how much, writers, and I know this for myself, even as show, we do take some ownership of what we do. How hard is it for you to let that go, let some of it go, or do you have to let any of it go as you walk through the whole process to get the film done?
It's a delicate balancing act because in order to adapt a novel, the story has to resonate with you, and two, you have to have a vision for what the cinematic or film story will be, which will be necessarily different from what's in the novel. Mm-hmm. So it's a delicate balancing act, and at a certain point, you have to just say, okay, I have to detach, because if a producer, for example, at the production company says, hey, this is a note, on this script, and if you don't agree with that, you can say, hey, this is the reason why it's there. If they say, hey, we got to get it done, then what are you going to do? You're going to have to detach. The same thing with the network. Hey, I'll tell you why it was there and even make a case for it. But yeah, you have to fall back, as the young people say.
So people who are very creative, sometimes they don't want to do the business side. And it sounds like there's a lot of business side to do with this. I mean, in terms of, going to a network, pitching the idea of, hey, will you show our movie? Going to a production company, hey, will you make our movie? What do people need to know about that process?
Well, the first thing that I would say in response to that is to respect the craft. It's frustrating to me as a content creator who has devoted years, money, degrees to learning the craft. When they find out what I do, hey, can I be in your movie? So if I was a conductor of the New York Philharmonic, you wouldn't ask me, hey, can I come and play, lead violin,
right.
Or conversely, if I was a nuclear physicist, and I'm not trying to compare what I do to those things, but I'm just making a point. Hey, can I go to work with you and, I don't know, split atoms or whatever they do as nuclear physicists? So the first thing is to respect the craft. It's shocking to me the number of people who have zero experience acting, zero experience being a music supervisor. Pick a job. And they come to me, someone who's been grinding and struggling and fighting and clawing and surviving for all these years to have an opportunity. And you're like, hey, because you know me, I have no experience, but hey, can I do this for your film or that for you? Hey, if you ever need this, I have no shortage of actors, cinematographers, ideas for movies. I have no shortage of that. So the first response would be to respect the craft and the process. And once you do that, then you will know how to approach a person and maximize that relationship without offending them, without even knowing it. Because I don't say anything to these people who ask me these things, but in my mind, a bell goes off. All of the actors I know who have trained and put in the work, and I'm not talking about you have to go to Yale drama school, but, person who's in their church plays because that's their only opportunity, person who's in Regent University short films or, or the Norfolk State University players. But they're committed to the craft. That's very different than this vanity thing. Hey, can I be in your movie? No, you cannot.
It's like when I was a news director and people used to say to me all the time, oh, I could be an anchor.
Didn't that offend your viscera? Everything inside of you was offended by such.
Well, but to that point, Booker, as we look at technology today, I equate it to this. So because everybody has a smartphone, and they are out and they see something happening, they think they're journalists. They can, film it or videotape it on their phone. They can send it in. They feel like they're a citizen journalist, which is very different than being a professional journalist.
That's right.
Does technology today, because kids can make their own films, is it that kind of a correlation going on, or is this a good thing?
It's most certainly a correlation, and it's both good and bad, and I'll explain why. So take what you do. I was sitting here, again, just marveling at you before we went on air. It's like she's just going through the stuff. She has all this information here. She's, and I was a mass comm major at Norfolk State, got the Hampton Roads Black Media Professional Scholarship, all that stuff. So I know what goes into being a professional. I'm sitting here marveling.
Thank you.
But I could do a podcast tomorrow with my phone, but I won't be able to do what you do. Can I get a crisp image? Yes. Can I get clear audio? Yes. But will I be able to do what you've learned over years?
Yeah, that's the difference.
Ask the insightful questions and run an interview like you're doing, and remembering numbers for the call-in and the donation. And so,
good point.
So to that end, so we have this technology that allows people to make 4K movies with their phone, but there's still skill required to make something that's good enough that people will pay you to do it.
And that's the difference. Okay, so we've written our screenplay. We've got our production company, so forth. How do you decide who's going to be in the movie?
That's a great question. And in the case of The Sound of Christmas, we had the entire team was great, and everyone came together and contributed the best of who they were. And we came up with something that was far greater than our individual contribution. So we had Tressa. Well, going all the way back to Tiffany. Let's start with Tiffany, she's the author of The Replacement Wife, the novel the movie was based on. She's also an executive producer. So even before anyone was on board, I'm writing the script. I wrote the treatment. Hey, Tiff, what do you think of this? Okay, cool. That's great. Now I'm writing the script. Now, when you're writing a musical, you're writing the songs, not the lyrics to the songs, but where the songs will be and what they're about. That's a part of the narrative. So she's on it. So again, before anyone was involved, she got Grammy winner Jonathan McReynolds, Grammy winner Myron Butler, and he sent me a king and Everything I Need at Christmas, the gospel rendition of O Come Emmanuel. Those were written into the script and they were made again before anything was going. So Tiffany, before any checks were cut, was already working as an executive producer. She had already found the writer director, me, right? So fast forward, now we have, we actually have a budget and then, things going on.
Yeah, things like that.
So we had Yanley Artie, who was a producer, Ron Robinson, the producer, Tressa Azarel Smallwood, who runs Megamind.
And explain to people what being a producer means.
That's a great question. So we have Tressa, who who runs Megamind, but she's the executive producer. We shot in Atlanta, so Tressa, who is based in suburban D.C., brings on Ron and his company, because Ron has been making movies in Atlanta for 15 years. Shrewd move, okay? So now Ron brings in Yanley Arty. So now we have this team of producers. So the producers who were responsible for casting our leads, for Neo, Serayah, and Drea Michelle. Now, we all came together and had a list, early on, if we each came up with lists. But at the end of the day, what it amounted to were, our producing team tapping into existing relationships to cast our leads.
Back to that relationships word again.
Right? Exactly. So then we have our casting director, George Pierre, who, for the supporting roles, he's sending me, we call them self-tapes, so actors reading from the sides, which are the portions of the script that their actors will use for an audition. So actors reading the sides for each of the roles. So I'm watching these self-tapes, and then I'm choosing. So the casting, it's a combination of the producers, the casting director, and the director. And then you came up with this wonderful company of actors, which I'm very proud of.
Do you have the final say?
In the case of the leads, I didn't, because it's like, and not that I was saying, no, I don't want Neo,
right.
But it wasn't like I could say, oh, I don't want Neo, let's go get someone else, because, they're working these relationships. And mind you, you're not just targeting one actor. We have the cast that we,
Sure.
Came up with, but you're not just targeting one actor, so it's like, okay, well, you go after this one, there's scheduling issues. You go after this one, there's something else, so as in the case of the principals, no.
Did Neo look at this as an opportunity to stretch his acting abilities also? Because we don't hear him sing until the end.
And that's a function of the story. And see, people don't realize how many things Neo has been in. Even now, he had another Christmas movie out with Serayah called Hip Hop Family Christmas. He's in Step Up 3, which is on right now, which that stars, I believe. I mean, he goes all the way. He's been acting now for probably about maybe 10, 15 years. But people don't realize that because he's this international pop star. But I think that we came together as a team, and I liken, when I teach my directing students, I liken casting an actor in the relationship with talent. It's a marriage. So we came together and created what I think was a beautiful performance, and ultimately for everyone in the company, a beautiful film.
I'm looking for her now. Aaliyah Kai?
Oh, Elijah Kai.
Elijah Kai. Yeah, she plays Deidre. I had no idea she was 18 years old.
She played 15, and she played it well.
And she played it very well. It's like she was channeling her younger self, I guess.
And this was her film debut, and
her voice is beautiful.
Do you know who her mom is? Tachina Arnold.
Oh.
And she wants to, be her own person. So I don't, I don't like just blowing her up like that. But she has great genes.
Honestly, because I was just, when she first started singing in the movie, I was just like, wow. And her younger brother was so cute.
Yes. Also his film debut, Blake James.
How much of so you've made several movies now. So how much of a chance, I guess is the right word, is it taking with someone who has never done a movie before? I mean, I know you got to get started somewhere.
It's not a huge chance, because if you look at how, in the case of Elijah Kai, Tressa had produced a film for BET Her that Tachina Arnold directed. So there was the relationship component, right? But it's just like, just because you have the relationship doesn't mean you have to have the talent to sustain you when you get in the door.
Sure.
So of course, when I see her, they're like, hey, we want her, and I see how she can sing, and I see her presence in front of people. So it's not, to me as a director, it's not an extraordinary leap to think that they can be comfortable inhabiting a role, because they're being emotional and feeling while they're singing. Case in point, when I was a professor at Regent, Barbara Sierra was in a Regent film, as well as Janet Roach. And why did I approach them? And again, I didn't direct these. I was executive producing them for my students. But they make a living in front of a camera. And they're very comfortable. So it's not a stretch to think that Barbara Sierra, who's never acted before, would be able to act. She does it. I don't care how upset she is before she comes to work.
Exactly.
When that tally light comes on.
Exactly.
Boom. So it's not a stretch at all. So a lot of it is being strategic, but not really a chance. But it's also, the larger point is, it depends on how you're coming into that relationship.
So we're getting ready to take a quick break, because we need to find out how we're doing in terms of our pledge. But on the other side, when we come back, I want to talk to you about exactly what a director does. Okay. And Lisa Godley, Are you there with me?
Yes, I am. I'm so busy taking notes at what Booker's talking about. I'm like, okay, yeah, I forgot. I do need to time the show. Okay.
That would be very, very nice. Thank you very, very much. But let me just say this. If you're just joining us, we're talking with author, professor, and filmmaker Booker T. Mattison. His latest film is The Sound of Christmas, now airing on all BET platforms. And we are taking a quick break so that we can find out how we're doing with our challenge. Now, we had a $2,000 challenge in order for people, so your money was matched dollar for dollar. Are we making any progress, Lisa?
We are making progress, and I want to say thank you to those of you who have called in. We've had about 7 callers call in, and we're very excited about that. But if you haven't taken an opportunity or taken this opportunity to pledge your support for Another View, this is your time to do so. So pick up the phone and give us a call. I don't want to give out the number because I'll give out the wrong one.
Okay, I can give it out.
Okay,
it's
go right ahead.
It's 800-940-7170. 940-7170. That's the number to call to pledge your support of Another View. If you believe in us, if you love listening to this show on Thursdays or catching it on the podcast at your convenience, and you want us to stay here along with all the other programming that you hear on WHRV, we really need your support. And no amount is too small, no amount is too large.
That's right. You become a sustainer, $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month until you say stop.
Absolutely.
And we would really appreciate that. So
800-940-7170. We do have that $2,000 challenge. We are trying to get in as much money as we can in this hour. If you listen to our promos during all this week, as I told you, all we want for Christmas is for you to be a member. And it's so easy. It'll only take a few minutes. You can go to WHRO.org and make your pledge there, or you can call us at 800-940-7170. Be sure to tell the volunteer there that you are listening to Another View and you are calling in support of Another View. Lisa, I'll give you the last
Barbara,
minutes.
when I'm out in the community and people are talking to me about Another View or things that they've seen on PBS, and that's one of the things I immediately ask them. I say, are you a member? And they say, they make that face that the Grinch makes when I'm like, this is your opportunity to support what you love. If you're enjoying the programming, this is your opportunity to become a part of it.
Absolutely. So. Because, the thing is, we instinctively that we have to pay for programming. And so while it's not the federal government that supports public media, it is the public. You are the public in public media. So we need you to give us a call. And we love, now I will tell you, there is a little bit of competition that goes on between the local shows. I'm not going to lie. And every time Another View just shines, you guys. So, and I know you'll do it for me again. And for Lisa and for Barry and for Jordan and for everybody who is associated with Another View. We do this. This is a labor of love for us. We believe in our mission. Our mission is very unique and very different and something that you will not hear on other stations.
Absolutely.
And so if you believe in that mission also, please support us. 800-940-7170 or WHRO.org. And Lisa, I'll let you have the last word before we go back to our conversation.
That's right. Think about some of the different shows that we've brought you and the different things that you've learned and you've heard here. I mean, I'm always having driveway moments listening to things. As I mentioned earlier, I'm so busy listening to what's going on in the studio. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my job. I have to time this show to make sure we go out on time. But it's exciting, and we love what we do. We love being able to bring you interesting guests and tell you amazing stories that are happening right here in Hampton Roads. So take this opportunity and support what you love.
Absolutely. And, we also love to hear from you because when you write us or call us and talk to us and tell us what's on your mind, that also helps us to determine what kind of shows we should be putting together. What's important to you? This is, even though we are heard worldwide and we have a huge, which I love, audience in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey, Charlotte.
Sales all over the U.S.
We got sales all over the U.S. Exactly.
Yep.
And it's wonderful. But we know that if not for Hampton Roads, we would not be here. So we really appreciate you all, and we hope that you will continue to support us. 800-940-7170 or WHRO.org. And we're going to go back to our conversation Booker, thank you for taking a moment to just relax while we had to do that commercial break.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here and excited to be a part of this conversation.
Okay, so we've got our actors, we have our screenplay, we've got our music going. What do you do?
Well, it starts long before production commences. So essentially the director's job is to take this document, this script, and make that into everything that you see on the screen, from decisions about casting, from decisions about color palette, from decisions about the mood and tone of the music. It's a complete vision. And here's what I say in the first day of my directing for the screen class, which I teach at the University of Georgia, is the two most important skills for a director to have: pre-visualization, the ability to see the whole thing before it happens, and communication. And it blows them away because they're thinking, oh, it's this technical pursuit. That's certainly part of it. But if you can't pre-visualize and communicate, you never get to the technical.
You won't get to the technical.
Oh,
exactly.
Yep.
I hadn't even thought about the color, but that does make sense.
So everything that you see on screen, from the staging, the blocking, camera movement, lighting, that's all a part of the vision of the director. And that's why they pay directors. Okay, I have this script. How are we going to turn this into a movie?
Does the movie, when you finally get a chance to watch the whole thing, is it the same as your pre-visualization?
It never is, and that's why when you watch dailies, which are when you shoot each day, and you know this, but this is for the audience who may not know that. When you shoot each day, what you shoot for that day they're called dailies or rushes. So because it's never going to be what you pre-visualize, for me, it's always depressing when I see dailies because it's just, one, it's not even complete. It hasn't been cut together. It has no color correction, no sound design, none of that, right. No score. So it's always depressing because it's never what you see and it's incomplete. So no, the answer is a resounding no. And how you deal with that the chasm that exists between those two things impacts your disposition during post-production.
Wow. So, one thing, when my husband's watching a movie, he really should be a continuity producer, because he will notice that if the tie was purple and the next scene, when it shouldn't be, it should still be purple, it is blue.
Yes.
He is like on it.
Yes.
I mean, there are different positions that people, I think, may not think about in terms of this industry.
That's right.
How would you advise young folks, especially who want to get into this industry, before you decide I want to be Booker? What else should I do in order to gain skills so that I can ultimately become a director or whatever it is?
Sure. There's two routes. There's the film school route, where you will learn about the different positions and how to put a production together. Or there's the route of you just working on shoots and working on films and learning on the fly. And you don't have to go to film school to be a filmmaker. I mean, Quentin Tarantino didn't even finish high school. So those are the two paths. But in those two paths, what you will learn is it's a strict hierarchy, as you described. There's all these positions. If you notice, most people get up and leave after the credits, except for Marvel movies, right? Because it's become a cultural thing. But for the 2.5, 3 minutes of all of those credits rolling, those are jobs that people do to feed their families. So there's so many positions. The way to learn that, again, is you go the film school route, or you go just coming up through the ranks, working on productions and learning that way.
And going from there. So after you do the dailies and you get everything shot, then what happens?
Oh my goodness! So the first
that's
step,
when the real work starts, isn't it?
so the first step is that the editor will, and when you're in film school, you cut your own stuff. Professionally, you never do that. Well, it rarely happens. Most directors don't cut their own stuff. So the first step is the editor will come up with either with an assembly, which is essentially, if you say you're doing 5-10 takes of every shot, the assembly would be the selects. Okay, so
I'm gonna take this shot.
I'm gonna use this shot, and the editor will string those together. So it's still not cut, but at least you have the select, so you can at least see the best of each take. Then from an assembly, you go to a rough cut. So now we've started to intercut the different shots, and it's sort of almost starting to feel like a movie. After you do the rough cut, then you do what's called locked picture. And now once the picture is locked, meaning we won't make any more picture cuts, now the sound designer can get involved and the composer can get involved and the mix and ADR and these various steps that happen after you've actually locked picture. And those things can't happen beforehand. And
are you just watching all of this at this point, or
you're directing all of these things?
So you're directing everything that's coming through.
So the vision of the director goes throughout post-production. So even, for example, the beautiful score that we have, and we were fortunate enough to have 4 Grammy winners who contributed to that. Teddy Bishop, who did the score, Jonathan McReynolds, who contributed original music, Myron Butler. Who's my 4th Grammy winner? Am I missing my 4th? It's 4 of them, and I'm drawing a blank. But nevertheless, so even the style and mood of the music, so whenever we're at that rough cut stage, I'm putting in temp score according to what it should sound like to give them an idea of where they should begin their process. And then, of course, they put their own magic on it. But even still, how it even sounds and feels is based upon that pre-visualization that you do in pre-production, production, and even post-production.
I got to tell you something funny. I just got a message from Lisa. So I mentioned Charlotte, North Carolina, and Durham, North Carolina wrote in to say, guess what? We're listening to, and Happy Holidays, Another View.
Happy Holidays in
Thank you so
Durham.
much. We appreciate you guys.
I wonder if they're Duke fans.
I'm a Duke fan. Are you a Duke fan?
I like it. I don't have a particular team, but the teams that are top ranked are the ones that I watch when they come on TV.
So have you ever had a time, or it may have even happened on this movie, where you're shooting and you just can't get it?
That has never happened, but I will tell you what has happened, where I'm forced to combine shots or lose shots because we're running out of time. So that forces me to reevaluate how to approach the scene. I still get what I want, but rather than 8 shots, we might only have time for 4. So it's not what I pre-visualized, but I had to adjust according to the conditions that I was facing.
And so, and time is money. So every single thing that happens during that day really needs to stay within that time frame. I mean, in other words, that overtime is...
Yes, because you have to have the budget for it, 1. And 2, the scheduling is such that there was a particular actor who was originally cast to play Chloe. And there was a schedule change, with one of the principals, during production. And so her schedule no longer lined up. She's working on other stuff.
Wow.
So, so we don't have the luxury to say, hey, we're just going to do this or do that. And we shot for 12 days. That's all we had was for 12 days. So you can't say, hey.
To put the whole thing together?
Yes, 12 days. So we can't say, hey, well, can we get a 13th day? No.
Yeah.
It's 12 days.
Yeah,
so
12 days, that's it.
So it's a great question that you posed, but, rather than, it not being what you want or it not looking the way you want, you're forced. It demands that you reimagine how you're going to do this scene, because a part of your job as the director, what do I need to get to make this scene work?
When did you start? Okay, so I know, how long of a time frame has all of this taken?
I would
when
say.
When did you guys start working on this movie?
So
From concept down.
We shot in March of this year, which is 2022. So I would go back to August of 2021.
Wow.
That's when I started writing The Treatment, was August of 2021.
Give me some perspective. Is that a short time, a long time?
Because
I know
it's
for
television.
TV
moves
different.
faster than if it was, say, a theatrical feature
Right.
from Netflix or Warner Brothers.
Right.
So because it's, the distribution is BET, TV moves a lot faster than film. So I would say that's average, less than a year. A theatrically released feature is going to be a year or more.
Booker, this movie is so good, and it's airing on BET. And I used to work for BET. Okay, so I have I'm not saying this in a derogatory way at all. But my question is, will we get to a place where this movie would not be considered a Black holiday movie, but a holiday movie, like other movies are considered a holiday movie, and would air everywhere? Or did you guys make a conscious decision, because it's so hard sometimes to break into other avenues, that we want to do this for BET, we want to make this a Black film, we want to do this for ourselves? Either way is fine.
Sure.
I'm just curious as to what...
BET is our home. That's who
Okay.
It's a BET Plus original movie,
Yeah.
and it's airing on both the streaming service and the channel. So
And
it
the
is
channel.
a BET film, and the BET Plus original film, like the other streamers, your Apple Plus, your Netflix, they create original content to do what? Attract new
people in.
customers. So that's what this is. It's basically a worm. So that decision was made because that's who our partner is. Now, the first part of your question, will we ever see a film with a Black cast and it's just a
crossover?
It's just a holiday movie, or my answer is going to be no, because we are so incredibly racialized in this country. Recognizing that even as racialized as we are, if a movie or a TV show is white, that's considered universal. If it's Asian or African American or
Hispanic,
right, it's considered
Latinx.
A niche film or So I don't know that that's ever going to change, honestly. And to be frank, I'm not convinced that's an issue because what I teach my students is that what makes us attracted to film and stories in general are people dealing with these primal urges that we have, the need for love, the need to protect, etc.
Because the story topics are universal.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So, so for me, I don't focus on, and I tell stories that most often have people who look like me. That's my perspective. But the more specific you are, the more universal you are. But if you're aiming for this universality, you're going to miss the mark because it's that specificity, the nuance and detail of those things that that make stories resonate with people.
Absolutely. So are you, when you finally got down to the last edit and you looked at the whole thing, what was going through your mind?
Well, if it's when we lock picture, that's a different experience than the red carpet and premiere where I'm seeing it all put together. So there's these sundry steps between that. But let me address both. So lock picture was a little something because I didn't feel like we had enough time for, to get the cut to where I wanted it to be. I am happy with the cut now. And I can say, because, me being an auteur, an independent, writer, director, that's working with a network is almost like a bad word because, they're going to take your story and mess it up. At every step of the process, after I submit my director's cut, the process, the film itself improved. So fast forward from, locking picture to the red carpet and the premiere, seeing it for the first time on the big screen, it was wonderful. And I'm very proud of it. I'm happy. It's a great debut feature-length film, and I hope that you all will stream it on BET Plus and check your local listings for when it'll be airing again on BET.
Absolutely. It is a wonderful, wonderful film. I will tell you, it is called The Sounds of Christmas, and it is airing on all BET platforms. I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this. So you've done this one. You did one for Showtime. When are we going to see you on in a full feature film, not TV?
Yeah. Look, that's a great question. And, I have two novels that I'm, trying to get made. So, and the goal in writing both of those books was to make them into theatrically released films. So I don't know the answer to that question.
These are two novels you're writing?
These are two novels I wrote. I mean,
You've written already.
Yeah, my debut
Snitch?
novel, Snitch was 2011, and Unsigned Night was, I think, 2009. But I can't control when
Snitch is
someone.
still on my bookshelf, by the way.
Oh, that's great. I want to make it a movie, so that script is ready to go. Anyone who's listening, script is ready. All I need is some cash and a distributor. So I don't know the answer to that question, but what I can control is I can continue to pitch. I can continue to be prepared when opportunities come, but I can't control when I get the yes.
Which do you like better, filmmaking or writing?
I know
that writing it involved
I would say
both,
directing
but...
100%, and here's why. And
really?
this may surprise people, but I'm a professional writer. I get paid to write. I don't like writing at all. It's torturous. It's
even the screenplays.
I don't like writing. I like the result. I do not like the process. I tell my screenwriting students this. No, it's difficult. It's singular. You're isolated. You have to solve these problems on your own. It's not like a TV writer's room where you have other writers. It's you. So directing by far is far more enjoyable, the process itself. But combine the two, I don't like to direct things that I didn't write. So I have to write in order to direct. It's a necessary evil, as it were.
So if someone called you up and said, "Okay, we've already got the screenplay, we've got all this, we just need you to come in and direct it," would you do it?
It would depend on the check, and who was doing it. Being candid. So a short film I did called Ungabani, Who Are You? It was the first thing that I've ever directed that I didn't write. In a film school classmate of mine, Mandel Holland wrote that. So for me, that because that story resonated with me, it's no different than if I had written it. So yes, I would totally write direct a script that someone else wrote, if it was something that was good that I would want to marry my name and my brand to.
And so the whole idea of that resonation with you, that's very, very important in filmmaking, isn't it? Or in writing books, for that matter. I mean, there needs
that's your
to be
access
something.
point.
Yeah.
The emotional and aesthetic connection that you have to the material is your access point, because what am I in the business of doing? Manipulating and engaging people's emotions. So if it doesn't manipulate and engage mine, there's no way that I can replicate that either in a book or a film.
Absolutely. We've got a call. David joins us from Norfolk. Hi, David. You're on the air. David, are you there?
Hi. How are you, Ms. Hamley?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Mr. Mattison, my
Yes.
question is, I'm a musician, and I was wondering, and one of my main interests is film music. I was wondering, do you have a favorite film composer?
You know, I don't have a favorite film composer, but I have some films that I do enjoy. I mean, John Williams, of course. You know, they say, oh, that's the easy answer. I mean, but he's scored so many iconic films. Terrence Blanchard, you know, again, scored so many iconic black films and TV shows. And I have to say, Teddy Bishop, who did our score, you know, he's a Grammy winner, not for you would get an Academy Award or an Emmy for film or TV. But, you know, he's gotten his flowers as a musician, and he's extraordinarily talented. And, you know, he's squad now, you know. So it's like when something works so perfectly, I don't have a reason to ask John Williams to score my next film
Absolutely,
because I got
because
Teddy
you already
Bishop.
know.
Precisely.
Right. And you already got that team. Thanks so much for the call, David. We appreciate it. So why are you in Georgia and not still here teaching?
Well, you know, so moving to Georgia from Hampton Roads, it was an opportunity to accept a professor position at the University of Georgia, but also to be in the Georgia film industry. I mean, Hampton Roads is where I grew up, and I love Hampton Roads, but there's no active film and television industry here. You know, so in the U.S. we have, well, even globally, we have New York, L.A., and Georgia. And when I was in film school, 20-some odd years ago, it was New York or L.A. So I'm happy that I can actually live in Georgia and still make meaningful content that people can actually see.
What are your students like? Are they different now from the students you were teaching when you first started?
Sure. So my first faculty appointment was at the College of New Rochelle when I was still in New York, and Brooklyn College, and I was an adjunct at both of those institutions. And then I moved, and the reason I left New York to come to Virginia was to accept a professor position at Regent. So talking about full-time positions, the students at Regent were very different from the students at Hampton, who were very different from the students at the University of Georgia. So we have, you know, a Christian university, we have a HBCU, and then we have a PWI. So, you know,
that's a predominantly white institution, for those of you who may not be
predominantly white
with the
institution.
acronym.
Historically black college and university,
Right.
and Christian university, we
Right.
get that part. So different demographics, but the constant with me in those distinctly different environments and distinctly different pools of students is a desire to see these students learn and get better, and their desire to learn and train under someone who they know has their best interests at heart.
Do you think that students, I hear seasoned journalists say a lot, the journalists today, they're not as dedicated, they're not as, you know, whatever, fill in the word. Do you see that in film students, or do you pretty much have a steady thread in terms of the commitment?
You know, I'll say it this way, and I think this is, you probably can say this about any generation. The students who are serious and ambitious now, it's almost like when you look at the NBA and you look at someone like LeBron James, who can literally play all 5 positions on the court. You know, Jordan didn't play all 5 positions. Magic didn't play all. So the students who are on it now, they're far more developed than I was, and I was an insane student. I was coming for everything, right? So the ones who are on it. But malaise and indifference, you know, is something that I think plagues every generation. You know, unfortunately for me at UGA in particular, so I teach the advanced production courses. So by the time I get the students, they're seniors.
Okay.
And they had to apply to get in. They apply to get into UGA and then apply to get into entertainment and media studies. So by the time I've gotten them, these are high-performing, really talented students. It doesn't mean that they all are going to be great filmmakers. But, because they have I guess they're used to a level of achievement, there's certain foolishness that's just not going to happen.
How old were you when you decided that you wanted to be a writer, that you wanted to be a professor, that you wanted to be a filmmaker?
Mm-hmm. As far as a storyteller, creator, I've been doing that since I was as young as 2 or 3 years old, unwittingly. Because I used to create. They called it the working chicks.
Imagination like crazy.
Yeah,
right?
I had a whole cast in the whole town, and I would get up and go to work with. And I drew the characters, and my 2 older brothers would come and play with me, the younger brother, and my little. So I'm directing and all. I didn't know that's what that was.
Wow.
Right, but I was creating these worlds and explaining to them who these characters were and what their role in the world was, which is directing. And then I started writing my first novel, unbeknownst to me, when I was 9 years old. I didn't know it was a novel, but I'm writing this story. Now, as far as the professor thing, that happened. To be frank, it was a gig. I'm in New York. I'm freelance filmmaking, and then I can teach this adjunct class over here. I'm trying to, pool cash together. So it wasn't until I was at Hampton, believe it or not, that I accepted that this is a legitimate career path, because I'm like, hey, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm just doing this on the side.
I find it so fascinating, and we only got about 2 minutes left, that you say that you like the directing part, you don't like writing, but yet you started with your novel.
Yeah.
With Snitch. I mean.
Well, and it's like that opportunity. I know we don't have a lot of time, but that opportunity, I call myself the accidental novelist, because I had written a screenplay that my buddy Malcolm Lee was attached to produce, and he was off making a couple of movies. Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, and Soul Man. Mm-hmm. He wasn't thinking about me. So the woman who had become my first literary agent, Adrienne Ingram, came to me. She knew I was a writer and asked me if I could, write a young adult novel, without all the drama in it.
Sure.
And I wrote what became Unsigned Hype, and I got a 2-book deal for Unsigned Hype and the unnamed novel, which became Snitch. So I'm the accidental novelist too. I believe in God's sovereignty. Some call it serendipity. I call it God's sovereignty.
Last 30 seconds. What would you tell an aspiring filmmaker?
Do it. You have the tools. You just need practice.
That is fantastic. Booker, it is so good to see you.
It definitely is. I'm so glad you had me on. I'm excited.
Absolutely. And I just love talking to you. And congratulations on The Sound of Christmas. It is just fabulous. And before we go, we're going to check back in with Lisa Godley. How are we doing, my dear?
Well, our wonderful folks have helped us to raise $5,284. We didn't reach that $240,000 that you dreamed about.
That's okay.
We're excited about $5,284.
So we more than met our match.
Absolutely.
And that is fantastic. Thank you so much to our audience. Thank you for making your pledge of support. And guess what? It's not too late.
We got 3 minutes
We still
left.
got 3 whole minutes left in this hour. If you call between now and 1 o'clock, you will still be a part of this drive that we're doing for Another View. 800-940-7170. That's the number to call, or you can go to whro.org and make your pledge of support there. Whatever you do, continue to listen to us, continue to tell folks about us, but become a member. We appreciate it. Lisa?
Barbara, we just went up to $5,440.
Yes!
So thank you.
Thank you. I so appreciate that. And, while you're online making your pledge of support, just jump on over to anotherviewradio.org, and you can find our podcast there. And you can also sign up for our eView newsletter. It's a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows. Next week on Another View, you guys, I'm telling you, gather your friends and family around your computer or the radio. We're going to have storytellers on doing holiday stories, and it's going to be a wonderful way to ease your way into the Christmas holiday. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Christy Jordan is our audio engineer, and Cheryl Jeffries answered our phones. Thanks, Cheryl. We appreciate you. There's still time to support Another View. Call 800-940-7170 or go to whro.org to donate. We'll get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.